Okay, we're live.
Hello.
Quiet on the set. Let's play us in.
You like that? Yeah. There's some hidden meaning. Yeah. I'll tell you one later.
Welcome to Bear Facts on Guns, where host Derek Baer and his guests are locked and loaded to educate, inspire, and answer your questions about firearms. Tonight, we've got Michael's story. So the guy sitting next to him must be Michael. Maybe. Anyway, ready, aim, Derek.
Awesome. What's up, everyone? Welcome back. Thank you for joining the Bear Facts on Guns. Yes, the person to my right. I don't know if that's camera left, though. Oh, it's still right, too. You do have it mirrored.
I don't know what's happening.
I don't know.
You're right or left.
Whatever. Michael, I'll let you introduce yourself. Good friend of mine, and welcome to the show. Tell us who you are, and that's it.
Of course, Derek. Great seeing you again. I mean, as you know, I know, well, Derek knows, but the audience doesn't know. I met Derek from riding motorcycles. I was very involved in the motorcycle scene, in the sport bike scene for a number of years, probably from 2011 until about 2019 when I stopped riding. I met Derek. He was a great guy. We hit it off right away. We just have a lot of things in common.
Yep.
I'm an attorney in the Chicagoland area. I specialize in personal injury and criminal defense. And recently I got into teaching, and I got certified as an Illinois certified concealed carry instructor. That's one of the reasons why I think Derek brought me on today to talk about my experience, my knowledge, and why I got into this area.
Yeah. And Michael's right. We definitely have a ton in common. Hey, babe, how are you doing? It's my wife.
I'm good. Oh,
it's
sorry.
my wife. Oh, hey, Ken, how are you? Oh, it's my side chick.
Sorry.
Oh, my man. Hey. If Alice is watching, I'm really sorry, but I'm not sorry.
Not at all.
We had a fun time this time. So yeah, definitely tons of things in common. He's an amazing lawyer. I've seen and witnessed in person him work miracles where I don't end up in handcuffs or a felony.
Have you ever gone up against Denny Crane?
Who?
Denny Crane?
No, Danny. I do. Is he a state's attorney?
No, it's Boston Legal. It's a TV show.
Oh,
Wow. Did you see?
Over
Oh,
my
you
head.
threw him on that one.
He's like, wait a minute.
I stopped watching TV, like cable TV, 4 or 5 years ago.
That's a good idea. Yeah. I just watch movies on TV. That's all I do. I don't watch any TV shows too. Hey, Art, welcome. Thank you. That's my business partner. And my mom is on there too. Hi, Mom. All the way in New York. And Art says,
Thanks, Kent. I mean, Art, Kent. I'm reading what he said.
Yeah, I just call him Dupa. Whatever.
I don't know what's happening.
It's all good. Kent's had a great, busy day.
It's been fun.
Every day.
That's right.
So obviously our biggest thing is safety. We talk about what we break down. We kind of go through, and Michael's got a really good story to tell, and he brought some of his toys with him today as well. Some guns that he brought with him also. So we'll kind of dive into that part of it as well. So yeah, you want to start with where are you from?
Originally, where was I born?
Sure.
Well, I was born in South Korea. I'm an immigrant. I came to the United States when I was 9 years old. Moved to Chicago, to Albany Park area, Lawrence and Kimball for about a year and a half. And then when I was about 11, we moved to the suburb of Chicago, to Park Ridge, where I grew up most of my, all my life. Went to high school in Park Ridge, went to Maine South, went to Northwestern undergrad in Evanston, and went to Loyola Law School. That's pretty much. And then when I graduated, I stayed in the Chicago area. So I'm a lifelong Chicago resident. And I've always had a firearm since I was the age of 20. And I just found one of my old FOIDs that looked like a library card. I know you're from New York, Derek, and I
Yep.
don't know what the requirements are in owning a firearm is, but in
You
Illinois,
can't.
in
Yeah,
Illinois, you have to have this FOID, firearm owner identification card, that allows you to even touch a firearm.
Yep.
But in my early 20s, I met a couple of friends that enjoyed hunting and fishing and outdoor activities, and I got hooked up with them, and I wanted to go bird hunting with them, so I needed to buy a shotgun, and I applied for an FID, got it, and would go hunting with these guys.
Nice.
I really only got into handguns
Mhm.
and rifles, modern rifles, in the last 3 years, because I really didn't see the need for a pistol or an AR-15 platform.
Mhm.
Because to me, because I'm coming from a hunting background, it wasn't practical.
Sure.
In all reality, a 9mm 40, even a 45, isn't a hunting round. Isn't really effective beyond probably 30, 40 yards. And a lot of states will not allow you to hunt with those rifles just because there is not enough ballistic energy to take down an medium-sized animal like a deer in a humane way, in an ethical
Sure.
way. Same thing with the AR-15. The 223 round, 5.56, it's a very, very small caliber. It's basically a 22 LR hopped up 20 on steroids.
Yep.
I mean, it's got the same diameter as a 22 LR. So it's not this crazy, powerful, destroy
50
everything caliber, which it certainly isn't. And I just didn't see the need for it. It wasn't practical. I enjoyed carrying a shotgun out in the field openly, where I could, use it to pheasant hunt, duck hunt, goose hunt.
Yep.
But about 3-4 years ago, a friend of mine took me to, and I didn't like, me from riding. I'm kind of an adrenaline junkie, and
No.
being in the
No.
sport bikes, being in a sport bike scene, I couldn't really do 55 like that old song. I can't track 55. Right? Maybe put a 1 in front of it, but I think the statute of limitation is over.
That would be
So,
in Mexico, close
yes,
course,
allegedly.
and a training course.
Allegedly.
Yes.
Allegedly.
So, to me, there was no need for this, and I didn't enjoy shooting at paper targets at an indoor range where you shoot, you pull it in, you shoot, pull it in to see how well you're shooting. Well, about 3-4 years ago, a friend of mine who's ex-military, ex-army, served in Iraq, invited me to an outdoor shooting range, Buffalo in Ottawa.
Nice.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, bring your gun." Well, I didn't bring my shotguns because I knew we weren't going to be doing any kind of clay shooting or bird hunting, dove or pheasant. So I brought the one pistol I owned at the time, which was a Ruger SR9, a 9mm pistol, 4.5-inch barrel. Went there, and my friend, and he had about 3-4 friends that showed up with a whole arsenal. Like, it was like
Rambo.
It was like a fat kid walking into a candy store and seeing what's out there beyond, a chocolate candy bar that he had. You saw.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a fat kid walking into a candy store myself. I know that look.
But when I saw, one of my friends' friends brought Tavor Vectors, like exotic looking guns that I hadn't seen before, AR-15s, AK-47s that I've only heard of. I never really seen or touched them at the time.
Yeah.
And we were shooting at steel targets. We were shooting at boxes, and it was more exciting. It was like I can see what I'm hitting.
Yeah.
So
that ping when you hit a steel target, ting, is the best, coolest sound, especially if it spins or it falls over. It's the coolest thing ever.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, me being competitive and me wanting to build a bigger gun room than the guy who brought a bunch of stuff, I got on YouTube and I started just YouTubing different types of guns, and I found a bunch of gun channels like Hickok 45, Mr. Guns and Gear, Military Arms Channel, a bunch of other YouTubers that would review and talk about different firearms.
Sure.
So I just started to
hey Jen.
I just started to buy a bunch of guns sight unseen, just based on their recommendations.
Sure.
So I had like one of each platform in a 9mm. So I would tell people, forget going to a gun store. You can come shooting with me, and I'll bring damn near everything that the gun store has, and then some.
Sure.
So, but now I'm in a situation where I know what I like, and I've pared down the different guns. So instead of having one of each make, I've got a bunch of different models of the same gun. I'm looking for modularity and practicality.
Yep.
So I've got a case of Glocks, I've got a case of CZs, I've got a case of HKs, and I've got a case of Berettas. So all the mags are interchangeable, as opposed to having one Canic, one Walther, one HK. And then now if I have only one gun, I have to go buy 4 or 5 magazines for that gun.
Yep.
But now I've got 5 guns that comes with 2 or 3 mags each. So now I've got 10 or 15 magazines for the 4 or 5 guns that I have. So it's more modular.
So how many years ago was it when you went to Ottawa?
About 6 months ago.
No, about 3.
Yeah,
about 3 years ago.
About 3 years ago.
Yes.
So up until that point, you saw guns as hunting, right? I mean, it was for that kind of a sport,
right? I didn't see guns as that, but that to me, that was what I was using that for. Like, and a lot of my friends got concealed carry licenses as soon as Illinois allowed concealed carry, which was I think 6-7 years ago. Fairly long time.
Mary, what was the last name? I just had this last time. Oh, I'm gonna mess it up. It's Mary. Her name's Mary. That's who got us the concealed carry. I forgot her last name though.
So it was like the obstacle course type gun, outdoor shooting. That's what you're like. Oh, this is fun.
Yes.
It wasn't like, well, I think I'm just gonna start collecting a bunch of guns.
No. It was. I saw, and there are a lot of action sports associated with handguns and rifles. There's USPSA, United States Pistol Shooting Association. That's a sanctioned association that actually has a scoring system, different divisions, and different classes, different rankings. Whether you are a class, like an unclassified D shooter, C shooter, B shooter, A shooter, M, and GM. And GM and this is kind of on a bell curve. So GM represents like the top 1% of the shooters in the country, top 1 or 5%, something like that. And then M would be somebody who's top 10%. And that classification keeps changing because people are getting bigger and faster and better shooters and better technology. So maybe 10 seconds was good on this stage 10 years ago, but everybody's shooting 8. So now you got to be top 5% of that 8 seconds to become a GM.
He hasn't looked into this at all.
I compete very recreationally as a USPSA shooter. And I'm probably like a C shooter, C or B shooter in the division that I'm in. Yeah. So I would say I'm an intermediate shooter.
Got kids?
Oh, no. I'm married, no kids.
Is your wife, she goes shooting with you too?
No, she's completely opposite.
It's 2021. Yeah. You can't assume.
Yeah, right.
Does he have a wife?
What?
I'm just messing, dude.
He looks like he'd be the man of the relationship.
Yeah. No, she doesn't shoot. She's pretty supportive. And for a long time, she didn't even want to touch a firearm. But now she's kind of getting around to maybe going to shoot with me. She still hasn't shot with me.
I can tell you right now, my wife, same situation.
What's his name?
It's
I didn't want to assume.
It's Babushka. And I have to throw that out there too. Art, my partner. There you go. Business partner.
What type of partner?
He is from Ukraine, and he says RPGs work good for hunting. Typical Ukrainian. Just blow it up. No, it's fine. Just blow it out of the water. But my wife is actually in the same boat as what your wife was too, because she grew up with no animals. She grew up in
And graduated from Maine South too.
Did graduate from Maine. My wife graduated from Maine South.
Yeah,
also.
she's much younger than me though.
She's a little younger than
Yeah.
me. But
I graduated.
I didn't catch that. I even said it. So she never fired a gun ever. And I took her to New York to meet my family, and I was like, "Hey, let's go to my cousin's farm, and we're gonna shoot." And so we brought it out there. I gave her a big old 12 gauge shotgun, and I stood behind her, and I said, "Just pull the trigger." I said, "Pull the trigger." Now I say, "Push the trigger."
Push the trigger.
So push the trigger and watch that thing go off. And I still have the original video of that entire interaction, which is my favorite thing to watch because she says, "I'm so scared I'm going to cry." And then she shot it, and she's like, "Oh, that wasn't that bad. It actually sounds kind of cool."
Did she pee a little?
I don't know. She was wearing black pants at the time, so I couldn't tell. But it's the same thing as riding a bike, right? So my wife, I'm not going to tell that entire story of it, but my wife has never ridden a motorcycle before, and now she's cruising around in her Can-Am, and she doesn't know how to ride a bicycle. So the Can-Am was ideal for her, but she keeps up with the sport bike guys all the time and handles it really well, and it learns really well.
I love a Kiki's man.
Oh, my wife's a BA. She did BA a little. So I can tell you just from personal experience and everything, I pushed my wife. She lived in a bubble. She grew up in a bubble. That's kind of how her family was. It was just very tight knit. There wasn't a lot of exploratory where I feel like me and you growing up, we're kind of let loose. Like, hey, do what you want. Just be safe. Don't end up in jail. Don't die and don't, shoot anybody. It sounds really safe. So I bought my wife a 38 Special snub nose as a gift, as her first gun, saying, hey, like, we're going to work our way up to this. This gun's powerful. It's her favorite looking gun. She, I pulled up a website with Smith & Wesson, and I went through. I'm like, hey, what looks are you looking for? Like, what are you looking to do? So I kind of went through that process with her. I went into the and bought it for her, and she was scared out of her mind. And now we bought a Smith & Wesson 22. I'm in P22 on there as well. She loves that thing. And it's so much more comfortable. And now she grabs the 38 Special every time we go to the range, and she goes, I'm ready to keep shooting this. And she's becoming more comfortable. So just with your wife, it's scary when you first go in there and you're new, and there's a ton of gun enthusiasts that have been shooting all their lives, and they got all this gear, and they got all these fancy, guns, and everything's tricked out, and there's a whole bunch of scopes and red dots and all this. It can be kind of overwhelming. Plus the noise. When you go to the range, there's always that guy. There's always like 5 different guys at the range, and you got that one guy that's got the loudest gun possible in his arsenal that literally blows the walls off of this place. And he's shooting in the range, and you're going, oh my gosh, my ears are killing. And you're scaring the heck out of everyone else in there.
Yeah.
You can feel it in your heart. Boom. And it's, it's in there.
Yeah.
So I can tell you personally, if your wife and my wife want to go shooting and we can go obviously together, it would be a perfect interaction because there's so many. My wife's in the same boat as your wife.
Yeah.
It's really what it comes down to. And she's doing great. She's doing awesome.
Well, so I've got a couple of stories related to especially female shooters, newbie shooters that are scared of firearms and how they came around. One example, so when I became a Illinois concealed carry instructor, this woman, a black woman, young, 26 years old, she grew up in the inner city, and she was deathly afraid of firearms, but she saw the climate of the world, of the city, whatever. She's like, I need a firearm to protect myself. So I want to get trained. Before we walked into the range, I talked to her about the universal rules of firearm safety, the 4 universal rules of firearm safety, which is always treat the firearm as if it's loaded. Never put your finger in the muzzle, in the trigger, unless you're ready to press the trigger. Never point the muzzle at anything you do not wish to destroy. And number 4, always know your foreground, background, what's around you, know what you're shooting at, and maybe if you miss, what you might hit. So we delved into that. I explained how the firearm worked. We walked into the range. And it was a 9mm. She got one shot off, and the sound and the recoil scared her. She put the gun down, and she walked out of the range. So she had a little bit of a PTSD from the gun sound and stuff like that, because she actually saw and knew people that were injured and died from firearms. So she had a very negative mindset about firearms. But when we walked down, we started to rationalize and started to talk about how a firearm is an inanimate object where it's not going to do what the person holding the gun isn't allowing it to do or is doing. So once I was able to talk to her and she was ready to go shoot again, and we took it step by step. In 2 hours, she was holding a $50 group at about 7 yards.
Wow.
Shooting lights out at the X. I have another example of this woman. She's married to one of my friends, and my friend is an ex-military guy. So he's comfortable around firearms. He owned firearms, and he always wanted her to get into it. But once again, she was coming from a point of ignorance, of not knowing how a firearm operated, a pistol operated. So once again, I explained to her the safety. And before she even touched the firearm, I think she got real comfortable at the fact that I was talking about safety, not just grab a gun and point and press the trigger. And I said, before you even touch it, understand the rules, the etiquette of how to safely handle a firearm and how to be around the firearm. And then I explained how the pistol worked, the mechanism, the manual of arms, what each button did. And she got a little more comfortable after a couple of range sessions. She told me that she wanted to get her concealed carry, because at the time her husband wanted me to just kind of give her beginner instructions, but she got a little more comfortable where she wanted to get a concealed carry license. Now she's got it, and now she wants to come to the range that I belong to, outdoor range that I belong to do more intermediate and advanced training, like drawing from the holster, shooting on the move, shooting at a moving target. So it's funny because I just saw them a couple of weekends ago, maybe this past weekend, I don't remember, but she's a nurse at Lutheran General, one of the north suburban hospitals, and now her nickname is Annie Oakley. Yeah, she went from being deathly afraid of firearms to being called Annie Oakley, and now she has positive ownership of a firearm that she was afraid of.
Yep.
And one last example is my own nieces. At the time, they were 15 years old. I've got twin nieces, and I carry my firearm everywhere. So I walked into my brother's house, and my nieces happened to see my firearm, and they had a knee-jerk reaction of being scared. They jumped up. They're like, gun. I go, where? As a joke. So I said, why are you having this knee-jerk reaction? And they said, oh, it's dangerous. I go, well, it's here. It's not going to come out unless I pull it out. I took them into the kitchen, and one of my nieces likes to cook. And she handles knives to cut vegetables and different things. So I said, look at this knife. Look at the tools in the kitchen that you use that could be dangerous and that could be used to kill people. But I'm perfectly comfortable sitting here with you with the knife right between us, because I know you're not going to pick it up and I'm not going to pick it up to do any harm. Yep. So she kind of, she's like, yeah, of course. So a couple more times of them seeing me carrying a firearm, they told me that they wanted to go to the range with me once. I said, that's all you got to say. So that gave me a reason to buy a couple more firearms. So I bought
Honey, I got to buy more firearms.
I have to.
It's
for them.
It's education. Yeah.
That's a good uncle right there.
We're going to New York, so I need to buy more firearms, by the way, so that, we can be ready for New York.
Any nieces or cousins?
We have lots of cousins out there. They don't have any guns out there at all.
It's all, they all lost it. In
voting accident. There's a lot of lakes over there.
Yeah. So I bought a Smith & Wesson Victory 22 LR pistol, and Walther, I forget the name, Walther Hammerly 22. It's AR-15 looking rifle, but it only shoots a 22 long rifle, small caliber. Took them to the range. They were doing great, and after about a couple hours, I put a 9mm in their hand, and they were knocking down. They were hitting steel targets at 15 yards, a 10x12 target at 15 yards all day.
That's awesome.
All day.
How old are your nieces?
They were 15 at the time. They're 16 now. They just turned 16.
Nice. Yeah. And really, that's what it comes down to. So with everything that I talk about, and everybody I bring on the show, and I'm trying to bring a big theme of every guest that we have on the show. Gun enthusiasts and gun ownership is not taken lightly. We take it very seriously. Safety is always our main concern of anything we do. It's the same thing when we ride, although Michael and I have had some experiences in riding, but at the same time, we're experienced riders. We understand how our bikes work. And at the end of the day, we have to take fault for anything that happens on our end because it's our fault, right? So they'll take ownership to that as well. At the same time, when it comes to gun ownership, you need to be trained by somebody who actually understands safety and has the benefit of the mind of what they're looking for you themselves, and personalize that to you also. Because Michael could have, with the lady that works at the hospital, he could have just been like, yeah, you're too scared of this gun, have a great day. But truth be told, it's natural reaction to be nervous towards something you're not used to. And my wife was the same way. Riding a motorcycle, she was scared to death of it. Having our first dog, she was scared to death of it. Having a cat by herself was scared because she wanted to do that as well. There's a lot of responsibility in each of those. Driving a car every single day. I mean, when we were 16 years old, being a guy, of course, I was jumping the car and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm ready to go. I know this car. I've been playing video games my whole life. I've been preparing for everything. I hit that brake for the first time. I locked up all 4 brakes, slid sideways to a stop, and I was like, well, that's not like the game. It's not an on or off button. There's a lot of leeway in this. Exactly. So it was my first learning lesson when 16 years old. Like Dad taught me, hey, you're gonna learn finesse. So we're gonna finesse everything. So everything should be smooth when you drive. Well, it's the same with gun ownership. Everything you do has to be almost type A. You pull your weapon out, you make sure it's clear, you check everything, you check magazines, you check function. Before you're even going to the range, you're prepping for safety. Or when you carry, do you check your firearm every day before you carry?
Yes, sir.
I load it, unload it. I go through and clear everything. I make sure that everything's working. I do a pull on it to make sure mechanism's working every single time I carry, which is every single day too. People don't get concealed carry just to conceal. There's so many people in this state that we've heard from, and I've heard from personally, that go and get the concealed training for the training part of it, not for the concealed carry part of it, because it's the first entry step to all the tactical stuff, which is holster draws and tactical training in dark rooms and stuff like that too. So there's a lot that goes into that as well.
And I think ancillary to what you were talking about is also the fact that, converse to what you were saying, the opposite end of the spectrum, where they feel like, I have this license, so now I'm ready to take on the world. And that is, they're so mistaken if they believe that, because the concealed carry requirement is very, very basic and very minimal. To hit 26 times at a B-27 target the size of a barn door at 5, 7, 10 yards, I mean, it's just too easy. And where you have all of the comfort and all the time in the world to measure the shot and get a shot off, take your time, get a shot off. Real world violence starts and ends in 2 to 3 seconds, and it starts to end in 10 yards, 10 feet. It's personal. It's in your personal space. If you carry, you better be able to deploy your firearm and put it to work effectively within a second, not seconds, but within a second. You better be able to clear your garment, pick up your shirt, if that's what you're using to conceal your firearm, and dig in, get your firearm out, and go to work. Put in, do what you need to do if you decide to carry. So it's very, very important that people understand the dynamic aspect of shooting. And that's why I do the action shooting sports and trying to shoot on the move. And now I'm trying to develop a different skill set of, instead of shooting statically, shooting while I'm moving, shooting at a smaller target. And what I do when I go to my outdoor range, I'll actually bring weights. I'll actually work out, and I kind of coined it the Michael Shin Gun Fu workout instead of Kung Fu. Gun Fu beats Kung Fu 100 out of 100 times. So, but the whole point of that is so I literally bring weights, and I'll have guys doing push-ups, squat, dumbbell lifts, shoulder raises, run, and tire them out, and have an elevated heart rate, and then let me see what you can do within a second.
Mhm.
Let me see you deploy that firearm and hit the target that you were able to hit 10 out of 10 times when you were relaxed. Can you do it when your heartbeat is racing, when your heart's racing, when you're out of breath, when your vision is messed up, when you have sweat in your eyes? Can you make that shot? And a lot of people can't. And there's a big fallacy that police officers, because they carry guns, that they're somehow professionals and experts. And I have firsthand knowledge where I've seen police officers at the range where I train that couldn't shoot for shit, if I can say that.
You can.
Okay. Yeah. It was like I felt like I was handcuffed.
No.
Yeah.
We're talking about guns here, so
Yeah.
we can't say the word shoot.
So
Objection. Strike that.
overruled.
That's right. Strike that from the record. Yeah.
So and I really feel like we have to take ownership as individuals of our safety.
Yeah.
Because number one, I will, no offense to police officers listening right now, but I will take a handful of guys that are civilians that I shoot with over police officers when it comes to shooting.
Well, sure.
99% of
And a lot of police officers, as you do, as I do, they hope they never have to pull it out.
right. And me neither.
Right.
Me neither.
I mean,
yeah.
but they're not. They train according to the academy. Most, right?
Yep.
There are some good gun enthusiasts who are police officers, but hey, if I got to get so many rounds off in a month, that's all I'm doing.
Right.
Because
It's
I
a job.
really,
It's the difference
yeah,
between job and
right.
enthusiasm.
it's most of them.
Right,
Like, I
but I
really
think-
hope I don't have to.
But I think that's a little bit of a disservice if like if you carry a firearm for your profession. I hope that you are more professional than the average gun enthusiast, and so many times it's not.
Right.
And the reason I'm saying that, I'm not saying that to criticize the police officers. I'm saying that to say, hey, if you decide to carry, be proficient, know what you're doing and when to do it and why you're doing it, because every missed bullet has somebody like me attached to it, an attorney that's gonna sue you for the missed shot.
That'll be the city.
If you're the bad guy, no, Derek is the bad guy.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Wow,
Michael.
I meant to shoot that.
Am I on trial right
How do you
now?
write that?
I just met him, man. I gotta be nice to him.
Let me make that check out. How you write that out?
So if I meant to shoot Derek because he's trying to do harm to me and I hit you,
Yeah.
Even though you may like me, you for sure don't like the bullet that's stuck in your leg, and you're gonna want compensation for my negligence, for my mistake, and rightfully so. So
Bob
and
bragged the
that's-
shit out of that scar, though.
Hey, ladies, check out that scar. How many guys that have been shot?
Let me tell you this story.
Check out the scar and the number of zeros on this check.
That's right.
Let me tell you this story. I was walking down the street and then it hit me. That's it.
I got jumped.
So, and that's one of the reasons why I train so hard is I want to be
Right. So you've been you both, and this can go to both of you. So it's a two-part question. Number one is, how long did it take you to be comfortable carrying? Right. Because in the back of my mind, I'm going, shit, that, what if I sit on it wrong or whatever, and the thing goes off? I mean, that's who I am. So
Sure.
that's my mindset. Again, don't own any guns. And then now you go into court, you can't take it into to that facility. Do you feel like I do when I forget my phone at home? Like, oh shit, I forgot my phone.
well. So the first part of your question, where you're kind of afraid or you're unsure about
how
about carrying.
How long did it take to get comfortable carrying? Yeah.
It really depends on your mindset and also the level of experience and knowledge that you have. Okay. The first time you got your driver's license, 16, 17, 18, whenever you started driving, I'm sure you were much more afraid of getting in the car and driving than you are now, because you're much more experienced now. Correct?
Sure.
So and then now you understand how the car works, how it drives, how it brakes, much, much more. So it's the same thing with a firearm. When you are ready, and when you've been around firearms, where when you have a well-made Kydex holster, a holster that covers the trigger guard, and you know that even if I drop this thing in the holster, it's not going to go.
It's not going to go.
It's not going to go off. And once you have that understanding, it's going to be much easier for you to carry.
Yep.
Now, when I did get my license to carry and I started to carry, yes, even though I was exposed to handguns and firearms, I was still a little timid about carrying one with a round in the chamber ready to go. So that took a little bit of training and a mindset where I would carry, but without one in the chamber. But I would rack the slide, load the magazine, so now the trigger is ready to be depressed, so that if it was depressed on an empty chamber, it's not going to go bang, but I would know that the trigger has been pressed, and that if there was a round, it would have went off at that moment. So I would carry for about a week like that, in that condition, loaded magazine without one in the chamber, with the trigger prepped. So I would holster, unholster, go about my day, take it out, check to see if the trigger had been pressed accidentally or whatever. And 100 out of 100 times, it didn't happen. So that got me more comfortable. Okay, now I'm comfortable carrying a firearm in this condition. Now I'm going to move on to carrying a firearm with a round in the chamber, which I advocate and which I do all the time. Because like I said earlier, violence is random and it's quick. You can do all the range tricks of pulling it out, racking the slide, and getting a shot off in 1.5 seconds. You might not have that opportunity when somebody grabs you, your other arm, let's say, or you're holding out to your child,
right?
And you're not going to let go of your child. And now how are you going to rack the slide? And once you have that understanding of how everything works, it's much, much easier.
Well,
it's much easier. And then the second part of your question was,
so is it like when you forget your phone, like, oh shit, get a little anxiety, like, oh man?
Not when I go to court, because I know I'm leaving it there and it's only momentary. But when I was in New York City in 2019 and I couldn't bring my firearm, I did feel a little bit naked. I was like, man, and nothing happened, obviously, and I was safe. And
but it's just that sense of anxiety, a little bit.
It's like if you wear a watch every day, if you carry your phone every day, if you carry a certain pen every day, it just kind of becomes a part of you. So, yeah.
My thing was, it's a similar story. It comes to, I used to carry around the house. I bought, everything's personalized. So your Kydex carry is different, I'm sure, than mine.
Sure.
Because we have different body types, we have different structures,
different guns.
And I like to hold mine in different places than whatever person is out there too. Yeah, mine's next to my butt crack. I'm just kidding. It's not
just like the way you hold it.
Exactly. Same kind of thing. I went through progressions. I did unloaded with a rack. I have a safety on mine, and mine covers my trigger as well. So I had no issues with that. I can tell you the first time I legally was able to carry, all I did was fidget with it because it was on my belt, and I'm like, it's weird. It's something pulling on my pants, and now I sit on it. And I got to poop every 10 seconds now because I'm nervous, and it's pressing on my bladder funny, and I don't know if I like it. And I don't know if I bought the right holster for it. And then a thousand things run through my head of that. At the end of the day, I felt safer. I felt like I could protect me and my family and my wife when we're out in public. And that was a feeling you don't want to lose after you have it. Mm-hmm. So it's funny because, yes, to answer your question about forgetting it, you don't forget it because it's part of your type A personality with that. So, but when you're not able to carry it, is when it becomes really uncomfortable. So when we travel and going to New York, I can keep it in my trunk. It's not next to me. It's not on me. I feel uncomfortable because if I have a situation that happens and then someone's pointing a gun at me who's not following, rules and regulations, road rage driving or whatever, I now can't. I have to. Can you hold on a second? I'm just going to go in my trunk really quick. I'm going to unlock my gun case. I have to load my magazine, and then I'm going to run. Okay, now it's fair fight. So that I don't like with it as well. But yeah, it is like my cell phone. It's something I think about every day when I wake up and put it on. But once it's on, it's not like I constantly, nowadays, I know it's there and I'm not worried about it. It's not the first thing I'm going to grab when I get into an altercation. And Art even said, see, he's not lying about pooping every 10 seconds. Yeah, he knows. He's in the office with me. And don't mess with my poop.
It's just a healthy colon.
It is a healthy colon.
Yeah,
I think you should poop 3-4 times a day.
You should.
It's okay.
It's very healthy.
Great. I'm doing good. So at the end of the day, it's about comfortability for yourself. If you don't feel comfortable carrying, wear it in your house. When you're sitting in your house, in your own safe space, without other people around, wear it around your house. And that's, how that works with that. So,
now, time's getting away, and I know you brought some.
Yeah, it's exactly.
You got a little case there.
Oh yeah.
But then the question, as you are gonna show these firearms, is how, you got cases of them. How do you choose? You just are like, hey man, these came, they were highly rated, highly recommended, so I just started buying them. Now, do you buy because they're a sexy looking gun? Do you buy because it's got a good grip? Are you looking at the muzzle length? What I mean, Derek likes them because they're sexy. He says.
I do. They look sexy, and muzzle length matters.
Length matters. Size matters. Bullet size matters. Yes. And I do own a 50 BMG. So,
it's like the big trucks with the little dude getting out of them. Is that what it is?
No. As a reference, it's about this big.
Holy cow.
So yeah,
that's awesome. I love 50. Yes, they're crazy. Yeah, pull them out. What do you got?
Yeah,
pull it out.
All right. So
excuse me while I whip this out.
He told me to bring a couple of guns that I enjoy.
Yep.
And
we all have our favorite firearms, is what they come down to. What it works with. So, and for the viewers out there, he's going to check and clear.
So just to show the viewers that the gun, I'm going to clear the gun, empty magazine, rack the slide. Nothing in the chamber.
Yep.
I'm going to press off a trigger.
Perfect.
It's, now this gun is completely safe and completely inert. So this is a STI Staccato P Duo set up where I can put a red dot if I wanted to.
That's a scopy thing?
Yeah, it's
like a laser
dot thing, not a scopy thing. Scopy thing.
Yeah.
So
we haven't gotten into the scopes with Cat yet. We will.
So this is a pistol where I can mount a red dot, so I can shoot it with iron sight.
Oh, okay.
With the iron sight the way it is, or I can mount a red dot, and a red dot projects a laser beam that only I can see. It's not a laser beam that gets pointed at whatever I'm shooting.
Right, like
only
a pointer,
only I can see the dot.
Okay.
So I have two options of doing that, but I mean this is a 1911 style gun. This is a single action firearm where there's a grip safety and a slide safety. So you have to disengage the slide safety and press into the grip for this hammer to fall. Okay. And one of the beauties of a 1911 style gun is that the trigger, because it's only designed to do one thing, drop the hammer. And this has from the factory, about a 2.5 pound trigger pull. It is so clean and crispy. Oh yeah. So I brought this firearm.
Now that's one you have to rack every time you shoot.
No. This is a semi-automatic firearm.
Okay.
So I'm racking it because there's not a round in there. But how the firearm works is when you chamber a round and you press the shot, there's a small explosion of the gunpowder that's in the ammunition that's going off that sends the bullet out of the barrel, and then the explosion pushes back the slide. As it pushes back the slide, it picks up another round from the magazine, chambers that automatically from the action of the firearm, from the gun. You press off a shot, it's going to cycle, put another round in there, and you get to keep shooting until it runs out. And when you run out, it will remain in a slide-like position like that. Basically, the gun is saying, hey, I'm out of ammo. Feed me.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that's where you would drop the magazine, the empty magazine that's doing you no good. Grab another one, insert, and now you manually close the slide by pressing the slide release or by pulling back the slide. Okay. And now you're back to how the gun is now functional.
And that's got that has how many rounds?
This has 17 rounds, but I've got magazines, extended magazines that holds like 22, 24.
Look at Kent's face; his eyes just lit up. 22.
Oh,
so do you wanna handle this,
Pete?
Do you want to handle this?
Do you want to handle my gun?
You ask all the boys that.
So these are two styles.
I may, but off the air because.
It's all good. Oh, see, that's listen.
This is the same.
This is the reaction I wanted from you.
This is the same looking gun that was pointed at me in a armed robbery.
Oh wow! Okay,
yeah.
Okay,
so
I guarantee it might have looked like this, but I guarantee you it was nowhere near this.
It was
quality.
silver. It was silver and big like that.
Because it's a STI.
Did it have a scopy thing on it?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
Pete, I love that you said that, buddy. That's awesome.
Yeah, this is a semi-custom gun. This right now, this is a $4,000. This is a $4,000 gun.
Wow.
And I'm sure the robber wasn't using a $4,000 gun to try to rob you. So these are kind of like what I talk about as quote unquote to make a car analogy, Ferraris of the world.
Perfect.
So I brought a couple of guns that everybody probably knows.
Mm-hmm.
The old
Glock.
The Honda Civics of the world.
And I am so not a Glock fan.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Me
I'm
neither.
not a big Glock fan.
But
it's like the Suzuki Gixxers of the world.
Yeah, I'm not a Glock fan. However, I have a case of them just in case, shit hit the fan situation, whatever, and we're in it for ourselves.
The other cases he couldn't get to, but the Glock case was available.
Yeah, no, but it's because once again, for modularity, 80-90% of people own Glocks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm sure he may not be a Glock fan, but he might own a Glock, or he knows a bunch of people that owns Glock.
Yeah, I haven't done it yet, but I understand it.
Then all my friends own Glocks.
Sure.
So let's say we're in a situation where the three of us run Glocks and I run out of ammo. You can throw me a mag and I can insert it. And now I've replenished my firearm.
Yep.
If I run this gun and I'm the odd man out and I'm the only one using this gun with this type of magazine, and you give you there's only this mag, it's not going to fit. Right. So for practical purposes, I've bought into the Glock ecosystem. Police officers carry it.
Yeah.
Our magazines are readily available, interchangeable, sights, holstered. It's popular for a reason. I don't personally like the firearm, how it shoots, the trigger. I mean, the trigger on this is 10 times better than the trigger on this.
Yep.
This is 10 times more accurate than this. The fit and finish of the STI is 10 times better than the Glock. This is just mass produced, just whatever. But there's a purpose to it,
So everybody just kind of tuning in too. Those are pointed down range. There's nothing.
Correct.
If anything were to happen, they're empty. Whatever.
Yeah,
however you guys say
slide
that.
is locked open.
Yeah.
Yep. Slide's locked open. Magazine. There's no bullets on set, so we have to say that. Pete says Glocks don't stop. Modular and functionality.
See there we go.
Yep. 100%.
Glock tard.
Yeah, Glock tard. That's awesome. That's a good one. Yeah. And you're right? Like I don't like Glocks just because everyone else has them. I like those unique guns that nobody has, and it's me. I want to shoot my gun, and it's comfortable for me. At the end of the day, in a really bad situation where we're going to some kind of war, revolution, where there's like mass exodus in different ways, Glock's the one that you're going to want to carry because everyone has them. They're readily available, and there's tons of different magazines out there as well that you can get for them as all. And Pete says, I don't own a Glock. They just work. And they're inexpensive for parts.
Sure.
So there's tons of different options you can get for them. They're inexpensive to get for different parts, and they're very interchangeable too, which is the other part of it.
Well, I mean, it's a very simple gun. There's only 22 parts that make up a Glock. So the beauty of the Glock is in its simplicity. Almost anybody who has any bit of knowledge of firearms, or even want to learn about firearms, and has certain certain tools, can take apart a Glock and change out the trigger, change out springs, and do a lot of quote unquote gunsmithing work to a Glock, which is much harder with a STI 1911 style firearm. So it's kind of, once again, to use an analogy, this bike world, this is a Suzuki and these are BMW S1000Rs or Ducatis or Honda Civics to Ferraris. Now, do Ferraris drive better than a Civic in a lot of qualities? Yes.
Sure.
But are they more finicky? Yes.
Yep.
Sure.
You know, so, you know, and you know, I kind of take issue with the Glocks. They work. Of course they work. But so do all of
So does
modern
a bow and
striker
arrow.
fire
Yeah.
guns like MAP 2.0s,
Yep.
CZ P07s, P10S, Walther, HK P30L, P30S, VP9. I've owned them all, and I've never had any kind of an issue with any one of them.
Yep. So what I was watching your newsfeed the other day, and came across an individual who is pretty famous in Chicago and in the nation and the world. So do you want to talk a little bit about who
Kent
he
Jones.
is? And Kent Jones, yeah,
The rapper.
Kent, yeah, exactly. Kent Jones, the rapper. With
Yeah,
Adidas.
so-
who'd you have at the range, and what were you doing? And give me a
So
little.
I think, Derek, you're referencing Twista, a Chicago rapper, a platinum record,
Yep.
platinum selling recording artist. He's actually releasing a new song entitled, I don't know the name of the song. I was in the recording studio. We sang.
Did you sing on it?
I didn't sing. I yelled gun. It's gun themed.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
cool, sweet.
And myself, along with 5 of our friends, were in the recording studio yelling the part where guns.
Yeah.
Guns. So it wasn't really singing, it was yelling, and I yelled
That's
guns.
awesome.
So you might be able to catch my voice and when it comes out. But Twista is a firearms enthusiast,
Mhm.
and I met Twister through a friend of mine, Eddie Lorenzo, who's a Illinois Department of Correction parole agent now. And like I said earlier at the beginning of this broadcast, that I didn't enjoy shooting at static targets at paper, and it was boring to me. Well, Eddie was running about 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, when ammo was prevalent and it wasn't gold.
Can't do that.
It wasn't the price of gold.
It's not the same.
He was running a tactical night at Article 2 in Lombard.
Mhm.
Every Friday, we would run different scenarios like concealed carry theme, USPSA competition night, 2-gun night where we would shoot pistol and AR-15 in a tactical training, more dynamic situation.
Sure.
So I liked it, and Eddie was a great guy, and we hit it off like old long lost brothers, and we just hit it off. It turns out that Eddie had taught Twister and gotten Twister his concealed carry license
Awesome.
years ago, and Twister just became a USCCA licensed Illinois concealed carry instructor along with his buddy Creative Scott, and they opened up a company called Gun Camp that advocates safe gun handling and educates people on issues of guns, and he teaches concealed carry classes, and Eddie and I are part of the instructors that teaches that. And 2 weekends ago, what you were referencing, we were at a farm and he was shooting his music video along with Black Rambo. I don't know if you know who he is.
I do know Black
Yeah,
Rambo, actually.
he's a big YouTube
He is.
celebrity with 500,000, 800,000 subscribers.
And we want to thank him for tuning in here, 21.6. Thanks.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just shout us
Thanks.
out.
Yeah.
So those two are collaborating on this song that's coming out. So 2 Saturdays ago, we were at a farm where we were basically highlighting different firearms and we were shooting, and I was teaching a bunch of people how to shoot, people that have never shot before, or more importantly, people that have had experience in shooting and they thought they were good. And I was able to give them some tips.
Sure.
Give a lot of people some tips that they've never heard of, and they just became better shooters instantly because of the few tips that.
Now, do they bring their own firearms?
A lot of them flew from. They're from Louisiana. Black Rambo's crew is from Louisiana. Another guy was
So
from
they couldn't really
Washington
bring
D.C. So they didn't bring it up. They could have.
Yeah.
I mean, I've traveled to Vegas for SHOT Show 2020 with my firearm. As long as I can carry, I'm going to bring them with me.
There's a safe way to travel on a plane, even.
Yeah, and
with it and not
there are
be-
steps. There are
yes.
steps that you follow the TSA guidelines, and it's perfectly safe and legal
Legal.
to carry a firearm. There's protocol that you have to follow, but you can legally carry them. So they didn't bring their firearms, but I brought a bunch of my firearms for them to shoot and check out. So did Eddie, and we shot a music video, and that's what that weekend was all about.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
That is it.
And the video is fantastic from what I saw. And and it's funny because I actually know Twista indirectly as well, because I actually hung out with his bodyguard a lot. And he was actually my customer for a really long time. So I've actually met him before, talked to him before, I had a conversation with him a long time ago. And one of the coolest rappers you could possibly meet. He has a ridiculous palette for singing very quickly, understanding. You can understand every word he's saying, and it's fast. He's got, I don't know how he spits it out so quick, but the dude's a genius.
The breath
The reason I like Twisted so much is not his celebritydom.
No, I don't care.
But he is the most humble guy that I've met that has that kind of celebritydom.
Sure.
Where he has every right to, not every right, but you can kind of understand some arrogance if he were to be that way.
He could be a douchebag.
But he is an absolute humble and student of the firearm world. He wants to learn how they work. He wants to learn how to shoot better, faster. And so I met Twister like 6 months ago at the gun range, Article 2 through Eddie, and we just kind of started talking. He started shooting. I said, hey, try this, try that, this, and he started picking it up. And and he'll be like, man, I keep practicing what you tell me, and I'm getting better and better. And he's gonna start competing with me, doing competitions like USPSA style shooting or steel challenges, where it's just draw and shoot at 5 targets as fast as you can.
Yep, perfect. So celebrities and that kind of stuff. I mean, people are people. I've dealt with celebrities my whole life. And at the end of the day,
there's one here.
So true. He's my celebrity because I don't have a felony or a misdemeanor because of this gentleman sitting next to me. So he is my celebrity as well. And we were talking earlier about, I just want to touch back on that because it really brought up a good point. And I totally get what you're saying when it comes to, I'd rather have a group of 5 guys around me that I've been shooting with, that I've been training with, that I understand how it works. It's the same thing with riding.
Absolutely.
So we talk about, obviously, riding safety, because we don't go out to ride and just be a bunch of dicks out there. I mean, we can be, but when you put a whole bunch of inexperienced riders together, and we always have that guy. I mean, we've seen so many accidents in our life in riding community, and it became, I stopped riding fast with groups. I started chilling down, because I was just like, everyone's trying to, it becomes like a competition. Who's better, who can do the better wheelie. Dude, now's not the time to try your first wheelie with 150 other bikes around you. So it was really more around safety. And then at night or in Mexico, we would go out with our core 5 people and tear some stuff apart and have some fun. But it was never on. It was more comfortable because how he thought. He understood that he's not just going to jerk right, slow down, slam on the brakes, rip the throttle, and rip a wheelie down the highway, and make it unsafe. It's the same with gun ownership, right? Like, you want to be around people who actually advocate good gun safety. You should know the people that don't have that gun safety. And if we're trying to learn it, get it from a reputable person that actually has the knowledge and experience. That's not their first year being, that's my first gun I've ever bought. I'm going to teach everyone how to work it.
Yep.
No, I want to learn from ex-military people like Tom, people like Michael, people, that obviously on target. That really do pay attention to the experience of what it is and taking it a step farther, because at the end of the day, you are in control of it. You as an individual, it's not, like I said earlier, it's not a thought that runs through my head. It's not the first thing. If I get in an altercation, I'm throwing fists before I'm pulling a gun. The only time I'm going to pull my gun is if my life is in jeopardy or my family's life is in jeopardy. And even still, I'm going to try and verbally calm that down. But at some point, there's a point where it's not going to talk. My next gun is going to be a 1911. I'm actually currently looking for one. And it's hard right now, obviously, with everything going on and stock levels and everything else that's out in the world right now, makes it difficult. But that will pass and go. So I will be in New York next week for our show. So just so everyone knows, as Kent's surprised face right now, I am debating if I'm going to do that maybe live in New York. Would be a different show, or we just take a skip break. I don't know what we do. So Ken's looking at me like, oh, thanks for dropping that. Right on
Well,
the
let
air.
me know.
Yeah, okay, sounds good. But appreciate you coming out, man.
Oh,
it's
man,
great to
times,
see you.
man.
Yeah,
time,
thanks.
time flew by. It was like
it's
just
so
chit-chatting
quick.
with
Right.
a couple buddies.
I know.
It flew by.
That's it.
What's the next? What's your next purchase?
More. I'm
More.
set. I'm
He's
set
like-
with pistols pretty much.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna pick up more AR-15s, AK-47s, and rifles.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice.
I'm going for 1,000-yard shot this year.
Oh yeah, I've got a couple of firearms that can do that. I've got a Tika 6.5 Creedmoor that will reach out 1,000 yards, no problem.
See, that's literally what it came down to is a 6.5 or my 308, and I went 308.
Yep.
So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Pete. Great. Thanks for joining in. Again, Michael, can't thank you enough, man. Reach out if you guys have questions or anything like that. Derek at the BearFactsOnGuns.com. And there's a Facebook page now, the Bear Facts on Guns on Facebook. Enjoy. I'll see you when we see you.
That's it for all of us here at 216 The Net. Thank you for getting caught in the net with us. This has been the Bear Facts on Guns. Join us tomorrow for Mary Catherine's Power Hour playlist, bright and early at 6. And then stick around for the grounds, Bridging Civil Tension at noon. Our good friends, the Dream Home Experts. Going to be a fun Friday. And 3:30, Ask a Bookkeeper.
Yes.
It's a busy
Definitely.
Friday.
It is a good Friday.
But come on back, folks. Thanks a lot. And, well, for all of us here, we might not see you next week. We might.